Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week of Tryhard Tuesday, where we learn to try a little bit harder here at the Dota Network. I am your host, the Grand Wazoo. Sitting here with me is my co-host of so long now, we've forgotten when we got married, and that is Mr. Blue 22. How's it going, my friend?
It's good, man. It is good. I feel like I'm getting like all my wires fried right now. Like I can't think straight. I'm already in that like new dad mode. It's weird.
Oh, it's
like
okay.
I just can't focus on any one task at a time, and
that's why you lose in all those Nature's Prophet games.
And
wow.
Of course, there's .p Cyphus is joining us tonight as well. As kind
token
of
twat of the day.
Token twat, the TT of the
I
day.
like it. Yeah, the double T.
Yeah, it's okay. T squared.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll go T squared. I picked that one.
Cool.
Thanks.
Well, I feel great about that. But yeah, Cyphus is joining us to kind of talk 6.87 into 6.88. He was on the last patch analysis / prediction show, so we decided to bring him on again. He didn't want to, but, well, I forced him to with violence.
This is my third recording in 24 hours because of the Monday snafu.
Shut your tramp mouth. Twats don't get to
You're
talk.
just supposed to work. You're not
Excuse
supposed
me.
to talk.
Oh,
You're only supposed to talk
let
when
me
you
know.
should be working.
I forget how things work.
Yeah.
On
Remember,
Tryhard.
we have a-
You're the gimp.
We have a little clicker. We just click and you start talking.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out for the clicker.
The GIMP. Jeez, I went a dark place. Okay, we're not going there just yet. This is a Dota podcast, although we do have a bondage podcast.
I was told this was
on
a
the
safe
Dota Network.
environment.
Oh, it is. It's safe.
Yeah.
But how are your guys' games going? It's, of course, been some really, really fascinating and awesome Dota with, spoiler alert, OG taking the Manila Major. We saw very varied games. We saw heroes played in different positions all at the same time, and we saw a staggering 95 heroes picked. Is that right?
It was a bunch.
95 pick and ban, I think, not picked.
Yeah, pick and ban.
Or maybe it was 98 pick and ban. Who knows? But anyway, look it up. This is not where you should come for facts, apparently.
This is a fact-free zone. Yeah.
We saw OG play against Liquid and just prove throughout that entire tournament that they were the best team at that tournament. I mean, they played through the upper bracket. They didn't really drop that many games. They did fantastic in their groups and showed varied drafts. So I don't know. Let's open up the episode with thoughts on the tournament. What do you think they did that was fantastic? What blows your mind about competitive Dota today? Cyphus, I'll start with you.
I talked a little bit about on the latest Monday episode, but just I've watched more Dota than I played in the past week. That's for damn sure. Even since I'd say the group stage, like I was hooked on this tournament almost from the word go, which I feel like I've had a more varied experience with previous tournaments. Shanghai was kind of a turnoff because I felt like I sat around and waited for so goddamn long for anything to happen. And even despite the time zone difference, I still found myself watching a shitload of Dota.
Yeah, we watched it together. It became like a sports activity with girlfriends calling it our football, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I think that's true in a way. But I wanted to mention Shanghai real fast because you mentioned that. It feels like the build-up to the event is so huge that when they drop that anticipation, like by having a terrible first week or just cutouts on the stream or just terrible organization, that it kills the buzz for that. And one thing Manila did correct is that it just held that buzz throughout and just finished on a great note. Despite some weird things like roller skaters that were like covered in LEDs and the cosplay contest. I'm sorry, maybe I'm just a little too Western or whatever, but it weirded me out a little bit in ways.
Dude, I love the cosplay contest. Oh, you're the ignorant slut in this group.
Whoa, a lot of sexual nomenclature here on
I'm calling all y'all out.
Okay.
I want to add.
I'm all
a
with
slut.
the cosplay.
Yeah,
I loved those. I loved all the cosplayers. I thought the clockwork got robbed.
Yeah.
I have to agree with. I think there was a big post on Reddit about it. But
Yeah.
Either way, like all
That
of them
Tinker
were
was really
fantastic.
cool,
The
though.
Tinker one was incredible. I think the Doom one, that was the first one I saw that came out. It was just like all the lighting and all the work and design that went into it. It just blows my mind that people
don't get me
like
wrong,
make that.
Like I think those events would be cool to attend and go to if they were at an event and stuff and be up close and seeing it. But like seeing it streamed was just like
I think we have the perfect solution, which was shorten the amount of time they're on the catwalk, because the cosplay is cool. Like any critique of that event like was not cosplayer centric. It's the sound effects, dude. Oh, they made me cringe. I don't know why. I don't know why it felt so lame to hear it.
I thought that was campy but acceptable.
I don't know.
I just thought, I don't know. I have
Give me
criticisms.
Slacks. Give me Slacks hosting that thing. Nix the panel because I just.
It was definitely a first time thing, but that is the one thing. Not even that there was a hitch considered by the event. They handled that well. So overall, there was no hitches in the event. Like, don't get me wrong, that wasn't something that docked points. It was just interesting to see the areas that.
But from a production side of things, like,
and that they did that.
Sans the cosplayers, all of that stuff, just the actual Dota, the way it was broadcast was a huge step up from Shanghai, a huge step up from Frankfurt and previous Dota in a lot of ways. And it, like, compared to Shanghai, where, like, I would tune in live to watch Shanghai, and I remember vividly, like, where it stopped for me watching Shanghai or caring about it was tuning in, and there was some sort of, it was, I think, of the keyboard game where they had the fucking keyboard issue.
Ramses lost his keyboard or
and
something,
there was a pause.
Yep.
There was
From
a
Archon.
pause that no shit lasted like 45 minutes. I mean, it was the most painful
They
thing
were
to sit
literally
through.
tweeting out on Twitter, we're trying to find the guy who has the keyboard. And they're like chasing this guy around the venue. And that was delaying a game. Yeah, it was a bad time for
too
Dota.
much.
But, you know, the fact that
amazing.
this can be happening so... You know, you need those trial runs, I think, with some of these events. And Shanghai was definitely that. Frankfurt was pretty good, and this last one was
I don't think
fantastic.
you can say that because I think it's completely. I think it's about production companies. Like, sorry, you know, I don't have any bridges to burn over at Mars, or at Perfect World, but like not Mars, Perfect World. But Perfect World ran a shit event.
Yeah.
They did, and PGL
Well, people
ran a
got fired.
grade A event.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
true.
anyone could disagree with that. I don't even think the people at Perfect World could disagree with that. Like you said, someone got fired over it. Like it was
I
a
think
shit
several
show,
people
but
lost their job
but
over that
I think
incident.
it makes this one that PGL ran all the more astounding at how you can see how something can go so horribly wrong, and then right after that go incredibly well on nearly every level.
Yeah.
Yes, there were some minor hiccups, but I think what I love
So
is that they were
minor.
trying new things. On top of it, the battle view was a really cool experiment. I loved it.
I did too, but
I love that they
sans-
even
sans the
perfected
cameras.
it throughout the tournament. They were making it better and better and optimizing it based on feedback that they were gathering during the tournament.
Yeah.
Throughout the tournament.
I think they should have heartbeat detectors hooked up, but also shock them with like lots of
Dude,
electricity when they do
hold
something
on.
wrong.
Hold
And
on,
I
you
wanna
joke about
see-
that. They actually did that in
No, I
StarCraft
remember.
tournaments.
Yeah, I know. That's where I got it from. But they'll be wired to like be electrocuted when they make mistakes too.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
at the captain's discretion, of course.
exactly.
Yeah.
Performance enhancing electricity.
Yeah, electroshock therapy. It's been working for years.
Yeah, there you go.
know?
Get rid of your depression while you Dota. But anyway, Blue, going back to my original question, I know you've kind of already answered that, but like besides the battle view, what blew your mind about Dota today? Like it could be a strategy or where it's grown or what. I figured you'd have something passionate to say on this.
Well, I think what I love right now about the way the game is being played is that you are seeing clashing styles. It's a beautiful combination of it's anybody's game right now, right? Anyone can win at any given game. We saw that with, friggin' Na'Vi taking over and having some incredible performances, not just out of Dendy, but the rest of the team. And then you'd see other styles clashing and like MVP going up against Liquid and MVP just taking it to them. But then again, when MVP runs up against a lineup like a newbie, it becomes a different, or LGD, it becomes a different ball game, right?
Yeah.
There's different styles at stake, and sometimes it's not necessarily a rock paper scissors style, but you can see that some styles
Are
fit
just
better
weaker?
against other teams.
They're just better against other teams. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think it's better because we're talking more about these styles and less about the heroes and what are the most popular heroes that we're seeing constantly picked and banned. And I think what we're also taking, especially
These
not just
drafts
from this
become
tournament,
expressions, right?
But out of 687 is that we're seeing picks are really focused on the team. They're not necessarily focused on a really popular hero, with maybe one or two exceptions. So
I think you
that's my
see
favorite.
OG, and even if they draft an Alchemist or something like that, they still find ways to make up for it. You know, they have like a Jug or something, and Miracle will be on the Jug, and they'll be safe lane farming while the Alchemist is mid. You know, I don't know. It's just whenever they drafted Greedy, they had something on a counterpoint to just make up for it. You mentioned styles. Do you think that just some styles, just Secret and EG mainly, were just not up to snuff at all? Do you think
No,
that's,
I
or do you
don't.
think
I
they
don't
just
think that
luck
was
of the
necessarily the
draw?
issue. Is they didn't really have a style,
Yeah.
and
There you go.
they didn't seem very well practiced at whatever they were going for. They felt very kind of aimless, like, oh, let's try to throw this together, or what, maybe they thought they had a style going into it, and then they played some scrims going into the tournament, and they were just getting destroyed, or the first couple games just got into their heads. You could tell that something was off because EE was picking during the group stages, and I believe it turned to Puppy in the last game they played, which was the one game series against it wasn't Empire. Who was it? Who'd they play? I can't even remember
Yeah, I
now.
can't either.
It felt like it was like months ago, but it was just like a week ago.
We've seen a lot of Dota, so
Yeah, but they when
I mean,
they
they didn't even
lost
play
the
that many
game,
games. Yeah,
Puppy was the one picking. So there wasn't.
you're
really
right about
any
Empire.
style.
It was Empire.
it was
Yeah.
Empire.
It was Empire. Okay.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed with at least with Secret and EG is when you looked at the way they were drafting, and admittedly we only had the group stage to really compare it to, but and then you just looked at the sorts of drafts that they were coming up with, it didn't resemble anything what the top tier teams that were going deep in the tournament were doing. You know what I mean? Like you weren't seeing like the Phoenix utilization out of like EG and out of Secret like you were with other teams, which, and arguably Phoenix, I'd say was one of the best picks for OG.
Yeah.
And the way that they were, obviously the way that they were
So
utilizing
they
things,
just kind
but-
of failed to make the jump into 6.87. Like these teams felt
Well,
like
I think Blue's kind of right in that, like, when you think about the way that
they just didn't jive.
Yeah, I
The cogs didn't fit.
well, and we in the episode that gets lost in the ether from Monday, sadly. But like one of the things we got into that we didn't end up getting into is team building and team structure, and that those old concepts from your Com 1010 course about forming, norming, and performing.
Yeah.
How many roster switches have we seen on EG and Secret alone just in the last year? And with players just dancing back and forth from the two, how do you have the time? At what point have you just not spent the time together that you need to be successful? Like maybe you aren't going to win the next major 2 months after you formed a team. Maybe it is going to take a year to get to that position where you can do it.
But once you reach that year of time together, it's something that should not be thrown out, obviously, because OG stuck together throughout this entire time, since they were monkey business pretty much.
Well, and
they've succeeded. You know what I mean?
It
They've
begs the
succeeded in
question.
two big events.
I think it begs the question. I'd love to ask you two, Tryhards, who arguably I know you guys follow Pro Dota a lot more closely than I do. And that is, do you think EG's biggest mistake, and I have often wondered, was changing up their lineup immediately after TI5?
I'll start with that one. So one thing I want to mention that, yes, a lot of people have been like, oh, OG, they've stuck together for a while. It just so happens that, the two teams with the most stable rosters, Liquid and OG, were the ones at the end, the finalists at the end of the tournament. But to be fair, it helps a lot when you win a $3 million tournament, like a couple months after you form as a team, right? OG won Frankfurt Major. That's a whole lot of money.
1.1 mil, right?
Yeah, when you win a $3 million tournament, when it's a prize pool of
I
$3
see.
million.
I see what you're saying.
Yes. So, yes, technically 1.1 million. Either way, that provides a whole lot of financial stability to a team that really didn't have a lot of sponsors going into it. And so winning is the best chemistry. I think that's a common phrase you hear a lot with teams. So yes, while that kind of sticking together and staying together as a team is really great, there's still examples out there of Dota 2 teams that stuck together for a long time and really haven't seen that level of success,
but
that are really successful on other teams. Look at Ninjas in Pajamas.
My question still,
yeah, I remember that team. They still play Counter-Strike,
They stuck
right?
together forever. Yeah, but the Dota team stuck together for a long time, couldn't get those successes. They split the team up. Eventually, a couple of those members moved to Complexity. They had a little more success. But it's a matter of like, yes, I do agree with you that there definitely was an element of team chemistry being an important factor, especially in this tournament and big majors. But at the same time, winning also helps, right?
Right. But what I'm positing to you is, I think you're talking more generally to the concept of like sticking together or not. I mean EG specific. Yeah, like they had the winning combination, they had the winning team chemistry, obviously. And if winning, if winning helps with chemistry, then arguably they've got the best win of all time of any video game for that matter. to like maintain. And all we ended up seeing was, I feel like every tournament we saw EG drop just a little bit in their performance as time went on through each of the majors, and there was practically a roster shift, it felt like, between each one. You know what I mean?
There was a great deal of instability. There's no doubt about that, and there's no doubt that that played a role in it. If you were to just ask me straight up, like if EG from TI5 had stuck together, would they have better results now? I don't think they, no matter what, I don't think they would stick together, because if a team is willing to change a lineup after winning, that much money, there were obviously issues, and those issues are at the highest level with the captain and the other teammates. So,
and of course, let's not forget that they did drop Aoi again. So AUI or whatever, but they dropped him again. He's no longer on the lineup. Bulb is also to secret, so Aoi's teamless, I believe. And we're looking at a fear position 1, which I think is the best move they can make, because that guy is a wicked carry. He just was not the same player in that 4 position.
I disagree completely on that one. Yeah. I think he was a fantastic 4, but I
think he's more impactful as a carry. But that's just from what I've seen and what I've seen.
I feel
from
like
him
they're grasping, though. I feel like they're trying to get back to what they were. Like at this point, it feels like they're trying to get back to what they were. And what's funny is that along the way, it almost feels like every roster shuffle has been EG trying to get back to what they were. And it's like, at what point are you never going to be able to get back to what you were because of instability?
Well, they've got a good team to definitely try, with University joining the lineup. They've got a lot of talent on their lineup. Seems like a good balance of ego.
But they always have.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
You have to have a balance of ego, too. And if you have Arteezy and Sumail and PPD, all these egos.
So, a couple things to note, because I think the narrative of EG and Secret has kind of gotten caught up, and there hasn't been a counterpoint to the whole narrative of, well, there's team instability. EG was still a team that I believe took 3rd place at Frankfurt, didn't they?
And did take the Summit, too, right?
And they took...
Or Summit 3 or whatever it was?
Summit, they were up to Summit 4, I think.
Okay, the most recent Summit.
That's definitely what I can't speak to.
They were still having very good results as of up to maybe 4 months ago or so. I mean, they were still playing incredibly well, with that lineup with Arteezy and Universe and the lineup change and everything like that. Of course, then when the roster changes happened and Aoi and Bulba came in, the roster has not been the same since. And part of that is Bulba playing on a new team, and he plays a very different style of offlane than Universe played. Universe plays far more farm-oriented, and Bulba plays almost the position 4 offlane for a lot of folks. And he has a very specific set of a pool of heroes that he plays really well on, and the others it's not quite as straightforward. So while the team building part does have a big role to play, I just don't want that to get lost in the narrative saying that, well, EG just hasn't been doing well since TI5.
I stand corrected. They took 3rd at both Frankfurt and Shanghai.
Yeah.
So,
which for them obviously wasn't enough, because they made a roster change, or a roster change was made for them, and Arteezy leaving for Secret, same thing with Universe.
I think these arguments are springing up. If you saw another 3rd or 2nd place or something, you'd be looking at those results and being like, okay, well, these are growing pains. You guys are still among the very top elite. But with them just getting knocked out so quick without even it was like seeing your favorite dog running around, seeing him have to be put down. You're just like, oh God, poor boy.
Shit,
come on.
You talk to me about Dark? God damn, man.
I'm sorry. That's how it felt with EG. I wanted to see him do really well in Secret too. It was like a pair of twin dogs dying, being put down behind the barn. It was just like, Puppy, no. One of them's name was Puppy, one was PPD. Or Puppy. One was Puppy, one was Puppy D or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a joke there, and it's doesn't get better, folks. But it was fantastic. It was a great tournament. We saw some people that haven't been able to kind of flex their muscle, such as Navi. You saw them make a pretty deep run. You saw Dendi just unleash some of the maddest tinker play I think I've ever seen. And you saw that they have been doing the work. And that's something that's great about this game, is every top team is so close that all it takes is a bit of work and you're skyrocketed into the front. Into the event again. You're playing in the center of tournaments, and you see people like Virtus Pro and stuff fall off and not qualify, and that's just something that happens. I mean, we're seeing the scene change, and that means shakeups with the bigger teams, the bigger houses, and that means some younger teams can come up to prominence, and I like that a lot about the game.
Yeah,
But
one last thing I wanted to
one last
mention.
thing, because I didn't want to go this far on pro news or anything, because we're going to be talking about the patch. But I'm going to give you both last word on the topic before we move on. So go ahead, Blue.
So one last thing on the topic, because you're right, we got a lot to cover today, but I forgot to mention this when I was talking about things I really liked. I think maybe my favorite thing was the player profiles. The player profiles were incredible at finding these amazing stories about these players who were homeless for a year in MVP's Febby, players who bought, who now are business owners as a result of their tournament winnings. I think that was DJ from Fnatic. I mean, there were so many really cool stories, not just about the teams and how they form, but the players, and it kind of humanized them in a way that I really enjoyed at TI5, and I'm glad that they've kind of extended that into these majors. And I think Manila's production team that worked on that, it might have been their best effort yet, as far as kind of fleshing out the players and their life story and things like that. So.
They're normalizing esports by showing these very human pictures of the people behind these games. And you can make a living doing it. I mean, not everyone can do it, obviously, but if you can and you have the talent, it is possible. It's a viable career path, and maybe it's growing. You know what I mean? I think all of us would agree that it's certainly growing, but that depends on what kind of money comes into it in the next little bit. But what do you have to say, Cyphus, to finish up Major Talk?
Just thoroughly enjoyed it. It was cool to see a mixture of teams from.
How daring!
Well,
I'm joking.
It was.
It
was. They were great mixed results. It was cool to see. The top 8 include teams from all 4 regions. It wasn't, and up at the top, it wasn't just like China dominating everything.
It's World Warrior, dude. In Street Fighter, in the opening segment, where it's like, we will find the World Warrior. It's like, that's what Dota is, man. You're just finding
the World Warrior.
Yep, the World Warriors. And
analogies.
It's OG, man. It's OG. That's the team right now. They played really strong. Moon Meander's mom. This is my closing thought.
Oh yeah.
If Moon needs a stepdad, I'll just move in on that if you need me to.
Oh my god!
No, she seems like.
Are you proposing to Moon Meander's mom?
Maybe.
Right here?
She doesn't listen to this show. She listens to good shows.
I'll put his name. I'll put his name in the title, and she'll listen to it. Apparently.
Don't do that. It's embarrassing. But anyway, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about this patch. 6.87 has come and gone. It was a fun patch. I had a good time with it. We were introduced to new items. We were introduced to new playstyles. Let's go through some of our predictions early on. You have those written down, Blue. You have one for each of us, I think.
Yeah. So I'll start with our miss of the day, and that'd be Cyphus.
That's
right
why
there.
This is why we brought you on the show,
Yep.
man. Human sacrifice.
Prepare to get roasted, but no, for real, like that was a terrible pick. That was just an awful decision. So I'm gonna explain to our listeners what exactly went down with that. So we all made one prediction each at the end of our 687 show. I think that was maybe about a month and a half ago, so it was a pretty short patch, but which is nice because we only made one prediction each, so it kind of shortened and met us in the middle there. But the prediction that Cyphus made was that Storm Spirit was going to be not just in the meta, but like the hero of the meta, and that Aghanim Scepter was going to be the key item to bring him back.
Maybe it is. Has anyone tried it?
No, didn't I say? Yeah, I thought I said Bloodthorn.
And Bloodthorn. We're going to be the key items to bringing back Storm Spirit.
And we saw him every game. So
who's
the joke on
matches?
now?
We saw him. You're right. We saw him every game on the drafting screen, not getting picked. Like you could see his little icon, and you're like, "Hello."
He was there all the time. Yeah. I don't know what.
Such game presence.
Yeah.
But anyway, you thought the Bloodthorn and that all those changes were going to revolutionize him.
I thought that there would be way more incentive to play him. More importantly, with
those late game build options, right?
With the late game build options, and then the Bloodthorn. I suspected, or not. Yeah, not the Bloodthorn. The Bloodstone buff.
Bloodstone.
Because the Bloodstone, starting with the 12 charges,
That is good, yeah.
Pretty good, but not good enough, obviously, because the pros don't
it's
think
getting
so.
to the Bloodstone that's kind of the issue with this hero who's slow, who burns through tons of mana, also relies on tons of mana, doesn't typically level his really crappy stun at level 1 till like He's level 8 or 9 or some shit. Yeah, that hero still has tons of problems in the lane. But yeah, once he gets out of it, I mean, he's still really good. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see a little more of him. I'm not
maybe
sure.
so. Is there any referenced changes we can find here? I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, he got a slight buff.
Intelligence buff.
Overload damage increased from 30, 50, 70, 90 to 40, 60, 80.
Oh, for 688, yeah.
And overload AoE increased from 275 to 300. So that's where he's changed in 6.88, which is interesting. They're trying to nudge him in the right direction. We'll see if it's enough. Maybe it's not. Yeah, so that was definitely wrong. And Cyphus, you can go home now.
Okay, thank you.
Just pack up the
I'm just
mic
gonna start
stand.
playing Dota while you guys finish this episode, okay?
Swearing loudly. God damn it. Okay. What's the next one? Move on to me because I think
All
mine's
right.
somewhere in the middle.
So for you, it was Faceless Void. So you were half right on this prediction. So Wazoo predicted that Faceless Void would remain in the meta. Hey, you got it right.
Hey,
Look at
must
you.
be
You
the
go.
money.
You're the man. And that also that he would remain only as an offlaner. Ooh.
Nope.
I am so sorry.
Because we saw OG in the finals play him as a safe lane carry, and then in the next game draft him as kind of a confusioning
That's right. It was
confusion
confusing.
pick against Liquid to
Confucius
throw him
say
in the
Faceless Void,
yeah,
good
very
hero.
much, very much. They threw him in the off lane on Moon, so we can see the hero has a lot of variability. I was definitely wrong in the fact that he's not a carry because he. I think the basis of my prediction there was Time Walk though, because that ability is crazy freaking good. And there's no changes to the Void, so we're safe for now. You can continue to be that interesting hero he is.
Yeah, he's got some interesting builds too.
Yeah,
he's got
you can
like
build anything on him. It feels like
really,
but-
it's seriously like you can, and the fact that Time Lock, when they changed Time Lock to do like way more damage, that's when I think he became more viable as a carry with the 687 patch.
Oh yeah,
Now he hits like his bonus damage. I just checked. It's 125 for each Time Lock, and it's a 25% chance at level 4. That's a ton of damage.
you see people build Echo for that shit.
Yeah,
like
I love that.
Like you see so much. You see Sanjin Yasha on him. You see Manta on him. You see just about
Refusal.
anything. Yeah,
The Radiance Vanguard
it's like a
build.
jack of all trades, and I'm
There
glad
was
he's
the
become that.
Wagamama build that we saw.
The
sometimes
Radiance,
at
the
Vanilla.
Vanguard into the Radiance, yeah. Which is
Yeah,
you
DC
did see
played him like that.
yeah. And it's
I
very
built
strong.
Mask of Madness on him the other day and had a great time.
Oh God! Oh, that!
Pub
Don't
trash.
do that!
Please,
Don't
please,
do that!
Please report. Please report.
Whatever.
Please.
Game 1, Faceless Void carry. Yeah.
Did you win?
Yeah,
Nice.
hardcore. Yeah.
Because you just mask up and get. Oh, every time they give too much damage to you, you just walk away.
It was a
dude.
really good lineup for it too. So
There you go. It's all line up.
Yeah.
Okay, what's our next prediction here, Blue?
I predicted that DK would be back in the meta,
the safest
and
of all
I think
the
that's like
predictions.
mostly true. Like he has gone up a little bit in terms of pick rate in pubs. His win rate's still a little bit above 50%, but he got picked pretty frequently in the Manila Major.
Or
But
banned.
he had a sub 50% win rate though.
Yeah.
In the Manila Major?
Yeah, at one. I mean, this was as of like day 3 or 4 of the playoffs.
So I just checked. It's 55%.
But
Overall
which is-
tournament.
yes, that.
Yeah, for
but
the-
that
for the
that's
whole tournament.
overall tournament.
I'll check this week, which is basically all the LAN stages, and he's still at 53.85%.
Yeah, I just remember at one point the
in
panelists
13
like,
matches.
Purge and company talking about how he was one of the top 5 picked at the tournament, and then but also was the sub 50. But maybe that was. I mean, it was super
It's not
early
50
on.
anymore. Yeah, it seemed Liquid like that's one of the Fata heroes, so it might also be that Fata played him a bunch, and that drove up the win rate a lot. Except in the finals that he played him at least 1 or 2 times, and it did not go well. So. Yeah, but he was picked a lot. He's been a popular hero, and really that kind of leads into our next point, which is armlet heroes in general. I think we can undoubtedly say that 687 was the patch of the armlet heroes, right, guys?
Oh, certainly. If we were going to give it any subtitle, it would be that. You have Lifestealer in the meta. You had a game with even Wraith King, for God's sake, in the end of those finals. You had, anyone with an armlet was pretty much...
Sven.
Yeah.
Sven is actually popular. The Alchemist armlet first build was
into the what? The Soul
Radiance.
Ring? Soul Ring kind of thing? That you
Yeah,
saw?
yeah. Soul Ring, armlet, and then Radiance is a big one. Yeah,
CK.
Armlet is good.
Well, you don't really see CK.
No, you,
I
did,
don't
you
really
didn't.
I
see
tried
CK.
playing
Yeah.
him a couple days
Not
ago.
once.
He's just so weird. I don't know. That dude needs mana badly. Like he can use his combo maybe once, and then he's toast. It's weird. But yeah, Armlet, good item.
And of course, the armlet was changed in 6.88. The recipe has just been bumped up to 50. Nothing else has changed. And of course, I think there's something interesting to mention. The armlet scripts being used and stuff. Valve released some backend changes on the console to not make that really possible to bind two keys to one thing. I mean, I think that's kind of interesting to worth mentioning, just as an aside. But armlet, are you going to see it super strong any longer? Do you think any of the changes that were made might change what happens? Do you see anything that patched that might dictate the type of meta it'll be, Blue?
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, Armlet got what? It's 50 extra gold, like you said. That's it.
Yep,
Like,
that's
nothing.
it.
This feels like
Slardar
it feels
is
like
a
687
popular
light.
Slardar carry item.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, right.
It really does. Like
a mini
everything
patch.
I went through and looked at, I was like, I didn't feel super excited about any. Normally in a patch, there's at least like one or two heroes, and I think it goes this way for everybody in like a major patch. That you get kind of excited about the change, and I think it's kind of interesting that the way Valve kind of released this so kind of quietly and quickly. We didn't have a big like 688 dedicated patch notes site. We didn't have any preface for it. It just kind of came out and dropped the same day. And
Yeah, and the
when
big
was the last
reason
time
for that
happened?
being the qualifiers are in 9 days, so they really
Yeah.
got to give people some time to get used to the changes. And it was like they felt they had an urgent need to kind of make that last quick fix before TI6.
And yet,
Yeah.
it's such a safe patch in a lot of ways. There is one change that really, really stands out to me. Do you guys have anything else to add, by the way? Because I'm just going to kind of move on to the bulk of the patch discussion. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, oh, sure.
Let's do it.
This Phoenix change is pretty big. Pretty big. Sunray base damage reduced from 15, 20, 25, 30 to 10, 15, 20, 25. I mean, that's pretty big.
I don't know, 5 damage.
Pretty big.
5 damage
Okay,
per second?
is it 5
though?
per second
Yeah.
or is it 5 per tick?
Right.
And what's the tick?
It's the tick per second, I think.
But is the tick per second? That's my question. I don't play Phoenix
Pretty
ever.
sure.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
actually don't
good.
know
I
if
mean,
it-
like, it was too good, right? Like, OG
yeah,
won that on
no
the
doubt,
back. Like,
no
you
doubt
would see
that
moments
throw
where
was
heroes would just be dead.
way too good.
Yeah, it's way too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is base damage per second.
Yeah, so that's a good decrease. I mean, it's a 25% decrease, right? From max level.
Well, except that
The max damage percentage is unchanged,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, you're still yes, it's good. Basically, it means when Phoenix gets that full 6 seconds off on you, instead of doing 180 damage overall, Phoenix is doing what 150 or 150? Yeah, 150 to 180 to 150.
Those Void Phoenix drafts really came off
Oh yeah.
really well. Just the ability to initiate an attack from that range with something. I mean, you didn't see OG build Radiance, I don't think, on him. Maybe you did. Not in the offlane, certainly, but maybe No-Tail did, and I just didn't catch it. But having that initiation range, and then the Phoenix could just swoop in, still doing the damage right into an egg, and that was brilliant.
Don't forget the heal. Like,
Yeah, it's good.
a big
You saw a lot of heroes
yeah.
that should have died in those final
Right.
games getting barely saved by
I
that
think
Phoenix Sunray.
well, and more importantly, I think that Phoenix Sunray is about like, and I don't think people think about it frequently enough, but the differential. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
differential of health incoming on one hero and health outgoing on another hero. That's always going to favor, that not only does it favor the hero with the slight edge already in the match, but it can drastically turn the tide against an even matchup or turn an unfavorable matchup into an even matchup.
Right. It-
because of that differential.
And that's
overall.
still going to be there. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what they want. They want, if you're going to engage and you don't check around you and the Phoenix is in the area and you take a fight, you should be punished, right? If they have that
Oh, yeah.
initiation range. But,
Yeah.
it's not going to be quite as punishing. I think the nerf is correct because that 10 to 15 on level 1 and 2 is not going to be felt quite as hard as the 15-20. And then once you do start to feel it at those later levels is where it should be anyway. and you shouldn't be off wandering around. It just makes sense as a
But
general
it's going to be
balance.
about the same at every level.
It's just a tick down, though. And that's what they're doing. They don't want to
Yeah.
make the hero completely bullshit. They
Yeah.
want it in the meta, but they want, at the same time, to just tick it down and find that right level.
Do you
This
think
still might be
this
too
nerf?
much.
Do you think this nerf, like, let's say this nerf is in place at the start of Manila, does it change the course of? Does it change things?
No, I don't think a team
I
like...
don't think so.
I don't think OG would have, like, went through the winner's bracket if, like, you can just ban out Phoenix and win against
Yeah.
them. You know what I mean? Like, they have a lot. The Beastmaster, you know, they have so much. They have so much. I mean, they're just a really solid team. Crit playing the Beastmaster and
But
stuff.
I guess my big question being, is Phoenix still picked in all those same spots?
Yeah, I
I
think
think so.
So that
I
maybe
think-
the
I think
change
so.
isn't. No, we'll see. We'll
You
see.
know, I mean, I think that's really what determines whether or not this nerf is, you know, a worthwhile nerf or not. Like, if sure, it might balance things in a very, 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 very.
That's
minor
how
way.
Ice Frog kind of like nerfs something into the ground or barely like sliver nerfs it. You know what I mean? Is what it feels like.
Right.
Another interesting change here is Shadow Fiend Necromastery max souls per level is increased from 15, 22, 29, 36 to 18, 24, 30, 36. So more souls per level. And that's also Ice Frog kind of nudging the hero into playability again, right? We didn't see him at all, did we? Maybe he was one that was drafted. And the movement speed on Shadow Fiend was increased from 305 to 310. So
I don't know that that's enough for that hero to be relevant still. Like he's now like one of those weird like situational, if you get him as a 5th pick, it might work out really well kind of heroes, but I still think he is so squishy in like a meta that's oriented around, you know, tanky heroes that really don't give a shit about that will like are very okay trading right clicks, right? So I don't know. I still think he's meh at best.
yeah, so it's just not going to be the change. I mean, they put the Ags in there, and it was just like,
The
meh.
Ags is cool, actually. I
You think that's
I
a viable thing
I thought
on
the
him?
Ags was silly, but Ags might be viable as kind of that mid-game item. You know, instead of going Blink Yules, you go Blink BKB Ags.
More
and then
damage, more
all in on
better, right?
Except that
game.
there are always going to be like 10 mids above Shadow Fiend that at least
Right.
going forward you would rather have. You know,
That's the thing. Yeah, if you get banned out like crazy, or you have like Arteezy on your team, or like some insert amazing Shadow Fiend player here, you might need to consider him as like a potential hero to play. But other than that, like he's still not fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if we'd have to see both sides ban 5 mids before I think Shadow Fiend really like becomes like you're not going to see him in the regular meta or not consistently. I don't think.
So the armlet, of course, with the 50 gold patch or the 50 gold increase on the patch, it's such a slight nerf. I think that kind of sums up the patch perfectly for me. Is just it's a little bump. I don't think that's enough on the armlet. I mean, it's a really good item with the armor, man. Like really, really good.
I think the heroes we should be discussing are the pub heroes because they're like
Weaver base damage increased
There's
by 2.
one-
There's a puppy.
no.
baby.
There are
Ursa,
two.
Fury
there are
Swipes,
2
debuff.
pub heroes.
Yeah,
2 pub
Hey,
heroes
Ursa
you got to
is not just
consider.
a pub hero, right?
Yeah.
Liquid played the shit out of that.
that's true. That's true. The Matumba
The 2 at the top of the win rate. Well, 3 that are at the top of the win rate, but 2 that got the most changes for a 688 change. Pudge and Necro. Pudge and Necro are in every goddamned fucking pub match I ever play, it feels like. And fucking Pudge, thanks Valve, I'm just gonna see him all the fuck more.
Oh boy.
Yay! More Pudge! More
yeah,
Pudge
it
to
is
take
kinda
advantage
weird.
of my solo queue lack of vision because nobody plays a fucking
Although they are
support.
slight changes. This isn't Pudge Apocalypse here. His rot slow increased from 27 to 30, and
The
dismember.
dismember cooldown
The dismember
fucking
cooldown's crazy.
sucks.
Yeah,
the
that's
fact that that's
pretty-
going to happen every
That's
10,
something else.
Yeah,
Valve.
Every
that now is
3
that's an
times
ability
a
you
minute?
could use in elongated team fights. Like that's
Yeah.
a legit ability now. Like that you could get off maybe twice.
You just
which is
it's
huge.
like a call that you target on one hero, dude. Like there's
It's a
nothing.
BKB piercing lockdown. Like
Yeah.
there's so few spells in the game that can.
Okay,
do what
you've got
it
me
does.
scared now.
No,
I'm
you
gonna
know
start
what?
stocking up on canned food and stuff, dude.
Oh,
Pudge
bullshit.
Apocalypse is coming.
Pudge Apocalypse. I'm banning Pudge every game I play now. I just don't want to. I just don't want to deal with it with a fucking.
Yeah.
Hey,
in a
you're not
solo
talking
queue.
about the real cancer of last patch, which is Slark, which pounce damage was reduced from
Oh, yeah.
50, 100, 150, 200 to 40, 80, 120, 160. Pretty big.
That's
Pounce
good.
was never supposed to be a
That's
damaging ability, though. It was the lock in place. With
It's
the
nice
leash,
for supports, though. Because supports,
Sure.
when you get pounced,
Yeah.
that's a
and
considerable
it
amount
takes
of your goddamn life.
it takes 20% of your health. You're just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he's level 7 or 8, he can solo a support as long as that support hasn't hit level 6. Which, assuming he's a Slark, he has that before the support has 6. So you're totally spot on with that. Like that's the type, like the time of the game where this change is relevant.
Yeah.
Pounce damage actually is pretty decent at that stage of the game. So
You're giving your
maybe
supports
that's it. I
like a
don't know.
fighting chance to come online
Cool.
against a Slark, and
like it.
also not feed the Slark that fucking early.
Can I tell you something that's making me hot and bothered right now? And that's Troll Warlord.
Oh god,
Strength increased from
I
17 to
knew
20.
when I saw it. You're not going to.
Although Berserker's Rage no longer provides 100 health bonus, it gives armor bonus. It's increased from 3 to 6. Base attack time improved from 1.55 to 1.5. And listen to this, boys. Ranged whirling axes travel distance increased from 945 to 1,000. So when you've needed that little bit on your whirling, there it is. That initiation range is actually really good to just spin into the fight. You nullify all those hits. And
Are you going to play more Troll?
Maybe that's the thing you needed because he was kind of on the precipice of being played.
You build Armlet on Troll, right?
I don't. Yeah, you can, but yeah, I mean you can. I think.
No,
maybe.
no. I've seen people try Echo Saber on Troll, which
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause he got the bash chance, but
kind of makes sense, maybe. But yeah, like
needs
he's
the
already
mana,
a hero
too.
that builds attack speed pretty well. I don't know. Maybe I don't play enough Troll because I'm not.
Here's the
the
new
scum of
Troll
the earth,
build.
so I wouldn't know exactly how this impacts the hero. But I'm going to talk about another hero that is also cancerous, and that's Ricky, who we saw a lot in the Manila Major as
That's
a
right,
support,
as a
which I
support.
love.
Yeah,
I love that hero.
You
in the
saw
support.
Kuroki playing him
Fantastic.
quite a bit.
Roland's been
Saw
preaching.
Kuroki playing him. There's been a lot of roaming Ricky is a thing, and I love that. I played him a little bit, maybe a week or two ago, is in that roaming role. It's amazing how much that smoke screen can impact a team fight.
Yeah.
It stays there a long time. The slow is great. The mana cost is increased. The change in 6/8 is changing it from 75/80, 85/90 at levels 1, 2, 3, 4 to just a flat 90 at every level, which to me is a great change because it's a hero who kind of needs to use all of his abilities if he's doing that roam, and he doesn't have a lot of mana items that he wants to build early on. I think this forces out things like a magic stick, early on to have instead of maybe skipping that and going for something else. So I don't know. I kind of like the change. I like to see how he plays out in tournaments moving forward because it was really cool to see that kind of pub build that we're seeing a lot, especially in those like super high, like 5K plus MMR games where you'd see a roaming Ricky all the time, and to see that bleed into pro Dota, I don't know. I just thought that was really cool, and I hope we can continue to see it even with this little nerf.
It's definitely a slight bump, like they needed that ability's way too good for 75 mana. So I'm glad that they changed it. What do you have to add, Cyphus? You look
Oh no!
sitting over there in consternation.
No, just reading patch notes.
Cool.
Just
Any
here.
interesting changes you're finding over there?
No. This patch was underwhelming to say the least. Oh, I guess I'll throw out the next. What I found weird was that Pudge got a buff. He's kind of the pub plague, for good or ill. I mean, sometimes it's awesome to have him on your team. Sometimes it's fucking terrible to have him on your team, and same goes for him as an enemy. But then Necro gets that slight nerf. I don't know. I know
It's
I'm
like
viewing.
a nerf buff though.
Yeah, I guess.
Like the difference between 1200 and 900, like I don't know, like if he's in range, that's like that's a pretty big reduction, but like I don't know, like if he's in any kind of fight, it's still maybe it makes his laning with that like bullshit level 1 of Heartstopper aura not
Little
quite
easier.
as good if you
It's a
can
little too
zone him
strong.
out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not
I
really
don't know.
sure.
But it's still
It's
900.
a weird
It's like
change. Well, but
it
like-
feels like you still be able to handle
What's
that.
funny is I feel like the build that I see from Necros that I get partied with is to max that fucking Heartstopper aura, which I don't like.
So dumb.
I
Yeah.
want.
Then go AFK in some trees on your enemy's side.
It's like
You
I
look
don't know.
green anyway,
It's like
you'll
something
fit in.
Roland would do if he were jungling.
Yes.
Like it's like
Yes.
fuck the Heartstopper aura.
It's
Are
like,
you shitting me?
dude, you went Heartstopper stats, Heartstopper stats.
And all this is going to do, I guess my biggest grievance with all of this is that it's a slight nerf. It's kind of a slight nerf in the fact that like it kills that range, and if you're playing Necro fucking properly, then it winds up, I think, being a nerf overall. But if you're playing Necro like fucking pub douches, where you're just maxing that goddamn Heartstopper, it makes my laning stage fucking miserable.
Saying play Necro correctly is like saying light a building filled with like the elderly and children on fire properly. Like there's no proper way to do such a heinous act.
You know what I mean, though.
We don't want to encourage anyone to play
That's right.
Necro. I have
Let's
friends
stop
that
talking
play.
about
I try
Necro,
not to
all right?
judge, but
His name does not deserve recognition on this podcast.
it
Let's
takes a
drop
certain
Let's talk
type.
about some
It takes a
decent
certain
heroes.
type
Hey,
of
I've
person, man.
been playing a lot of Necro.
about
Yeah,
this?
exactly. It takes a certain type of person, man. Like I like to play the working class heroes of America.
I like to
Span.
delete heroes. All right, it's, you know what? After being deleted so many times, picking up Necro, it's nice to be the deleter. All
Yeah.
right,
God.
it's like, hey, my respawn timer ain't fucked.
I only go take a nap
Hey,
when
you
I'm
press
on
the
my
R button.
respawn
Woohoo.
timer. But yeah, that's interesting. It's a nerf buff there on Necro because Heartstopper is, of course, more annoying now because the percentages have been raised.
Yeah,
slightly.
I mean, it's really
Very
slight,
slight.
but
But that's the
alright,
name of this patch, man, is Slidey McGlidey, because all they're doing is like very, very little bumps on every hero.
Hold on.
Okay.
One thing that has been glossed over by us, which is a pretty big one. Maybe it's not the sexiest change, but it has a huge impact on the hero, and that's the Lifestealer base attack time increase from 1.7 to 1.85. 1.7 is like the average Dota 2 hero base attack time, and base attack time is, the more it increases, the slower the attack is between attacks, basically. So like if you notice heroes like Jug or Anti-Mage, those heroes have really quick and really low base attack times, and it makes their last hitting really easy in lane. Means they hit faster. Means any kind of attack speed bonus they get means that much more for them. So the fact that Lifestealer got that nerfed on any right-clicking dependent hero, it's really important. It's even more so on Lifestealer, who literally is dependent on his lifesteal to sustain himself in a lot of team fights. And Rage is still a really good ability, but I wonder how much that's going to impact his relevance moving forward. What do you guys think?
Might affect his laning a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be something that really affects what makes the hero good right now.
yeah, when he comes online, he's online.
Yeah.
I
He's
think
someone
that's
that's
gonna be
strong for his ability for surprise initiations, being inside somebody when you have like a life stealer race car, or a life stealer taxi is what they called it during the tournament, and you saw him used to some success. The armlet wasn't nerfed in terms of its abilities. Let's not have us forget. Like, it's only 50 gold more expensive. What made the armlet good on Lifestealer is still going to be good. It's just he's going to attack a little slower in the laning phase, and that's where you're really going to notice it.
It's going to delay him. It's going to make him that much later, I think, because it's going to give supports. It's going to give agi carries that might be laning against him, agi offlaner, those with higher attack speed. It's going to give them a slight edge, and that they're going to be able to potentially out deny him a little bit better than they could before. Like, you're basically just going to slow his progression, probably not by much more than, in the grand scheme of things, 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the lifesteal.
Though. He was too strong. You know what I mean?
He was.
So this is another change I like makes me hot and bothered. As I said, Clink's literally hot and bothered. Attack range increased from 630 to 640, and that's attack range. This is already a hero that could dink off arrows from far away and have a pretty good shot. Do you ever see? I think this change is really good for him. It makes him kind of more long range. You can hit in a little bit and then skeleton walk out. But this kind of has me thinking, do you ever see Dragonlance built on Clinks, Blue? Do you think that would ever be a thing?
He needs to burst people down. I think it can still be a thing, like just like any ranged hero might need it. Any ranged agi hero, like if there is, say, a lifestealer or say a Ricky or someone who really wants to jump on top of you quickly, maybe you get that. But there's still so many other items that he needs to be effective at the time where he's really, really effective, which is that mid game. So
you don't typically build like you don't build. You typically build the Bloodthorn is what I'm seeing on him lately.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular one. The other is still the old Desolator. Or
that's what I like.
Or the Medallion.
What do you think about that with the Hurricane Pike for him? I mean, that kind of, the Dragonlance had what was the do you have it up there?
We did it last.
Dragonlance got buffed.
And then that's what I was mentioning earlier. Is this just that, like, if you're any agi carry ranged and there's someone that wants to jump on top of you, yeah, Hurricane Pike now is like a really, really good choice. I don't think
attacked
it's
on the
particularly-
Hurricane Pike. This is
The
the
attack speed,
this is
yeah.
the buff. It the active now grants you 100 attack speed for the 4 attacks it provides on the target. So you get those 4
Yeah.
attacks, but it's at a quicker attack speed. And of course, the Dragonlance was nerfed in terms of the strength and agility. The stats were reduced by 1 down to 14, and attack range bonus was increased from 130 to 140. So I'm just looking at these, and Clinks already has that natural buff, and with the Hurricane Pike buff, like getting those 4 attacks off on Clinks with like a Deso seems pretty good. I don't know. It just seems good to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how people make use. I think Hurricane Pike undoubtedly is a much, much, much better item with this active now.
Yeah, definitely.
It is like a huge, huge buff. 100 attack speed is a lot.
doesn't it kind of
early
feel like
on.
the anti? Doesn't it kind of feel like the anti-Ricky kind of item these days?
Yeah,
Right.
it kind
When
of.
the smoke screen goes down on you, and then Ricky tries to as well, you throw out the Hurricane Pike and blast.
Force
that
Staff was
motherfucker.
always the anti-Ricky item, and now the fact that there's a reason for a carry to build that on his own, it becomes all the more effective. So
Just to
you're
put
totally
this,
right on that.
yeah, I like that you said that. It does give you some incentive to build it. Just to give everybody a brief idea, a Hyperstone 2,000 gold gives plus 55 attack speed. So this is giving nearly twice that for the 4 attacks, and those attacks are guaranteed because of the Hurricane Pike. You know what I mean? And with the Deso, with a hard-hitting hero like Clinks, you can Shadow Walk away. They don't even know where you're hitting from. It's just, I don't know.
It'd be cool to see.
New
for
cheese.
sure.
New cheese, maybe. But I think we've covered this pretty effectively. This is kind of a patch that was easy to cover. It's something you could look over pretty quickly and just see where they're going with the game. They like where it is, obviously, because they're just barely nerfing it, and we'll probably see a bigger patch. I don't know, maybe nearing the International, I guess.
I don't
I don't
so.
know.
I think
Maybe
that's
after.
it.
Maybe
Yeah,
after.
probably.
I think after. It has to be after because the TI is coming quickly, and
That's true.
like they rarely, if ever, make any changes right before TI because maybe part of the reason that these teams made it through the qualifiers the way they did is because of the way the patch is set. So kind of turning it on its head would be very.
But it wouldn't be the first time
difficult.
that qualifiers have been interrupted by a patch, or there was a patch. being
Usually
Yeah,
interrupted
but
smaller
for a
tournaments.
TI
qualifiers in.
For a
Usually-
TI qualifier, has
Not-
there been an
Not when
impressive-
Valve's running them. Like, guarantee that.
Well, somebody's out there. Send us a tweet. Let us know if this has ever happened. I'd be curious to
The
to
Summit.
know.
The Summit
Yeah.
4.
Well, I know that.
No,
the
it came
Summit,
out
but
after.
I'm
It came out
curious
after.
about what Blue's saying. Like, I would be curious to see if between
TI
open
4, like-
qualifiers and a Valve event.
No, I'm not saying Valve event. I'm explicitly saying
Oh,
I
for a
think they
TI.
have done that for a major, but I'm saying TI in particular. I don't think they've ever done that.
And I doubt they
but,
will.
But I might be wrong.
That would just be bad organization on their part.
Right? That would be very.
I mean, would it though? I mean, sometimes they. I can see
That's
Valve
like
being of two
throwing a
minds about it.
stick into someone's bike spokes.
Well,
as they're
no,
like,
but it can also be about like shaking up a meta right before going into it.
to
That's
get the
what
most
they're doing right
interesting
here.
games.
Right,
I
and
think that's
and
what they're doing
I
right here.
that's why I'm agreeing with you that I don't think there will be a patch before this TI.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, okay.
more generally kind of.
All right. Well, we do have an item of the day that we prepared for you. You guys have any closing statements on the patch? What you think? Actually, yeah, I'm going to make you guys do it because you're here on my time, baby. So give me a tagline for the patch. What do you think's going to happen, etc.
Oh, I like the tagline. I think we should come up with a tagline.
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember 687? It's a lot like that.
I like it. What about
Oh
you?
God!
What a-
bold
yeah,
prediction
bold
there, Cyphus.
Cyphus.
Hey, that's a tagline. I'm saying when you see the
He's not wrong.
when you
He's
see
not
the
wrong.
movie
Oh, wait,
poster,
so wait.
when you
We're
see
just
the
gonna make
movie poster,
taglines?
yeah, this is the
Okay,
tagline.
like-
The movie poster for 688 underneath it is just going to say, "Remember 687?" It's a lot like that.
Yeah, I like it. Blue, what if you could summate to a short tagline? What would you give this patch?
I don't know. I'm thinking. Sorry, I was thinking actual, content. Substance.
You could do that too. I
So,
mean, just because
I-
Cyphus is here
I'm
doing
done
him,
with the PR advertising bullshit. I had to do that as a job. I had to make these fucking taglines. So I'm done with that shit. So bold predictions, elusive agi heroes are going to be back in the meta. I'm talking Morphling. I'm talking Terrorblade. I'm talking maybe even Naga. making a little bit of a comeback. Medusa, maybe. Well, Medusa is
Ooh.
not elusive, but maybe we see a little more Luna with that move speed now at a ridiculous 335. So give me some elusive agility heroes because I think they might be making a return.
Yeah, it would definitely be, the paper to the rock of what we've been seeing so far. So that's interesting. Kind of longer than a tagline, though. Are you in,
Like I said,
are
I'm
you
not
in
doing
marketing?
a tagline. God
Okay,
damn
fair
it.
enough, fair enough.
I'm the
That's why we
anti-advertising.
have here. That's why we have you here anyway, man. Is because you're the guy that explains.
We had a
the dumb
ginger
shit we
quota
say.
that we had to fill, and
Someone had to be the crotchety old man of the group. Yeah. Get over yourself.
Okay, so moving on to the item of the week. Armlet was given that plus 50 gold nerf, as
I
they
want you to
called
say
it.
its full name.
Armlet of Mordigian.
Oh,
Mordigian.
no.
There's a lot of way.
Mordigian.
What? Mordigian?
Mordigian sounds like a really bad hip hop song.
Yeah.
like a really bad
Armlet
hip-hop
of
track.
Mordigian.
Mordigian?
Is that how you're... Mordigian? Is it
Mordigian?
Mordigian.
Mordigian?
I think
like
that
Mordigian.
sounds like it makes more sense, right?
That sounds way more
Than
fantasy.
Digian.
Or is it Mordigan?
No, it's Mordiggian.
Yeah, the I is...
Mordigian.
It always
Yeah.
eludes me. 'Cause you would think
Mordigian.
Mordigan would make more sense. But
Mordiggity. Okay, whatever. That's what I say
Armlet
in
of
my head.
Mordiggity.
Okay, this was recently given that plus 50 nerf on the recipe, so it's 550 now. This is a really good item. 6.87 was the armlet meta. It gives you attack speed, it gives you health regeneration, attack damage, and armor. It's a very good, well-rounded item. Unholy Strength, when toggled on, gives you... Let me look up the exact numbers. Plus 31 damage and plus 25 strength, but drains 45 health per second. You cannot die from the health train when Unholy Strength is active, and when you toggle it off, this is often when you make a fool of yourself in pubs. I'm speaking from experience. I've been doing some really bad armlet toggles lately and just instantly dying, so it's something that has that infinite skill cap that is very interesting. So what do you guys think? Is it still going to be very prominent? You said 6.87 is going to be kind of repeated in this patch to an extent. Do you think Armlet's going to be a mainstay even further on, Cyphus?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy question. What about you, Blue? You have anything to add about Armlet?
yeah, I agree. I think Armlet's still going to be really popular. I'm really excited for the way this patch is going to go because I think there's so many items now that are so viable. I think there's only a couple that really don't get a lot of love. I'm looking at you, Rod of Atos, and really the rest of the other items all have their place for a given either lineup or strategy or hero. Like Necrobook is still an incredibly good item on specific heroes. Look at Armlet is still an incredibly good item on any strength hero, and I think maybe its versatility is the big key for why we see it so much. But I really think Armlet is still a really, really, really good item, especially with that armor. It just makes their survivability so strong, and people who know to Armlet toggle, like, hats off to them because I cannot do it to save my life.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Just to clarify here, Mordigian or whatever is actually a fictional character in the Cthulhu mythos. He is the creation of Clark Ashton Smith and appears in his short story The Charnel God, and that's what the Armlet's named after.
If it's after Lovecraft,
yeah,
I
it's
didn't
not
read
Lovecraft
so.
exactly, but it's been accepted, and that's
Yeah.
what the Armlet
The
itself
mythos
is named
really
after.
expanded.
So
That's cool.
This item, I just want to tell everyone real quick what it's made out of and kind of when and who you would buy it on. You get a Helm of Iron Will, a Glove of Haste, or gloves as they're called, even though it's just one. What a ripoff, man! They only give you one when you buy two. And then Blades of Attack, which is actually just one blade as well. Fucking bullshit, Dota. And then the recipe, of course, has been raised to 550. So it's an item that you build on strength-oriented heroes, and that toggling it on is kind of like activating a short-term heal. So you want to get it on heroes like Sven, Wraith King, Lifestealer, those that can kind of fight their way out of it, and hopefully still be standing when they toggle off, or be able to toggle off at a time where they can stun and kind of gain that
I also think it's important
ability.
to note that the heroes that at least in 687 that Armlet really seemed to favor were heroes with some type of or that typically built lifesteal or had lifesteal built into them.
Yeah. Exactly. And Lifestealer has that, of course, and that's a great thing because that's a great thing to mention, Cyphus, because you could run off into the woods after you've toggled off and get some life, and then run back and you're in the fight. But
well, and I
some
even
you
mean just
don't
to counteract
see.
the
Some people
the
spend
negate, or
like
the
for
loss
Sven,
of
for
points.
instance. Some people like you'd see AUI, and maybe not the best example, and other people just build the armlet. I mean, they'll just have Tread's armlet, no Dominator. They have someone else stacking for them, and so they don't have the life steal. But that just means you have to be super careful. Like you take those objectives and then you're back or farming safely. So definitely pick it up. Legion Commander's another one. Chaos Knight, if he's ever played again, I don't know, maybe. This is not his patch, I don't think. Even though it is a kind of a strength hero meta, I think is what we're seeing in 6.87 and what we'll see in 6.88. So anything else to add, either of you guys, on the item of the day?
I'll let Blue.
Let me see. Oh, the one exception to your notion about the lifesteal being the alchemist. You know, he really doesn't give a shit about
but he has the
lifesteal.
chemical rage built in. It's the same
That's
concept.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying that's the reason you don't need lifesteal on alchemist alongside armlet.
You have to be really careful if you don't have lifesteal because that just eats your health. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go over
Unless
a few
you're
more
alchemist.
things. We have time here. We have time, boys. When should you be toggling on an armlet? Obviously, when you're doing your hits, but when should you be toggling it off? Do you keep it on throughout the entirety of a fight, or like, I don't know? Is it just one of those things that you can only adapt to by doing it yourself? Do you think?
Yeah, I think you got to play with it. I mean, like the few times I've built it on Sven, the hero I primarily built it on is Wraith King. When I can fifth pick
been
a
a
Wraith
mainstay
King
for him
safely.
for a while.
Yeah, you know. I think you turn it off when 1, fight is over. 2, I need to try to armlet toggle.
It's simple
and
to
fail.
say and dumb. Like now that I say, I'm like, that's kind of dumb to say. Like you turn it on when you're hitting guys, but like it's hard in practice to do correctly because you're like toggling it before you go in, draining health, can't get him, stun a guy, and then you get stunned with it on, and then the guy runs away, and you're just shit. You know, like that's how it feels
gotta
anyway.
have it turned on.
It's weird.
Sometimes you just don't time it right, and it costs you dearly. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you get really lucky just tapping your button over and over again.
Well, it's there for your. I mean, it's there for them right clicks. If it's not turned on, it's not.
Yeah. But it's something that gives you a little boost in battle, and I think we'll see the armlet sticking around. It provides for interesting games and cool situations, so I'm glad for that.
One last thing about armlet.
Cool.
So armlet, like if you're playing Huskar, just like please, for the love of God, get an armlet. Like if you don't have armlet and you're Huskar, I don't know what you're doing with your life because too many times I see in these random pub games with some of my buddies and people will go like Treads, Helm of the Dominator, Wand, and like think that that's good enough, and then they'll get like Heart, and it's like Heart is a terrible item to get on him if you don't have armlet. Like Heart, you don't want to stay at large amounts of HP. In fact, the reason people get armlet on Huskar is not now, especially the additional armor is really nice. But also it keeps you right at that level if you know how to armlet toggle really well, right at the perfect amount of HP you want to be at as a Huskar. So if you're a filthy Huskar picker, like please at least be the right kind of filthy Huskar picker, right?
Yeah.
No,
if you're gonna
why
burn
the
a
armlet
building
makes you
of
good.
old people down and using these horrible analogies that Wazoo keeps throwing out. If you're gonna do that,
that's why I'm here,
at
buddy.
least get the right matches.
Yeah, it's a jack of all trades item for those strength builds. Like, and if you don't know why you're building it, then don't. Typically, is like a good experience with it. And if you don't know how to use it, try to get better using it on the right heroes. And
Get
good. Get good, kids. That's all Tryhards is about. Get good. But anyway, you guys have anything else to add before I close out the show? Now it's time for So Long, boys.
AA, good to fight him. Good to fight armlets.
There you go. Yeah, AA is very good against armlet. So if you want
Crit heroes.
Yeah. Good hero.
Disruptor with Ags. And Doom.
There you go.
Doom is always the answer.
Yeah,
right?
Doom is always the answer, folks.
Unless
I
you
don't know
got
if you knew that.
Lincolns, and it's like get something plus Doom.
Yeah, then you buy a Dagon, and
Wait
hey
till
man,
the
that
toggle
instant
off.
cast point. All right,
Yeah.
something to be said for that.
So I'm going to go ahead and close out the show, guys. We have had a really good time hanging out with all of you. We have a big announcement coming pretty soon, so keep your ears peeled for Monday's announcement. I'm going to let you go ahead, Cyphus, and
Oh, you want me to do plugs?
Yeah, just to
Well,
go ahead.
here.
You're so used to it.
You can find us at defenselesspatients.com. Follow us on Twitter at @P_show. Defense of the Patients on iTunes, Stitcher, all your favorite podcast apps. Defenseofthepatients@gmail.com is where you email us. Defenseofthepatients.com. Click through the Amazon banners. How you support the show without paying any extra money. Patreon.com/Defense of the Patients is where you can donate to the show directly and create more content like this. And that's
Very
going to be
good.
it, folks.
This is going to be it, folks. You need to cut that out because that adds to your time.
I thought I might have one more, but I forgot. Oh, the subreddit with
Very
Jay
good.
Gushi.
Oh yeah, Jay Gushi moderates our subreddit. Check it out. Defense of the Patients, our Defense of the Patients. Blue, where can people find you, my friend?
I'm not a fucking sellout, so I'm not gonna shill this crap
Shill it.
that keeps making me float out there. You can find me at twitter.com/.p_Mr. where I'll be giving you the real insight, the real substance that you can't expect out of these fools. And you know what?
But we're why you come. We're the real
I'm gonna
party.
go back to my home on the hill. All right, I'm just gonna go back to being a hermit.
Stay off this grandpa's lawn if you're gonna come by.
Wait! I forgot to mention. All right,
Okay.
so I looked it up. As much as I hate to say this, you were right. It is Armlet of Mordigian, based on the link I provided you in the show notes. So yes.
Ah, yeah. Wazoo got one right, not just half right, full right. So Mordigian, it kind of sounds like an Irishman's armlet.
Mordigian.
Old man Mordigian up on the hill.
He's a ginger, just like
I'm
Mr.
so
Blue.
mad right
I
now.
think it's Blue's grandfather.
I don't even know what that was. That was not even like an accent. That
What
was
are
just
you
like the
talking
guy from
about?
Lucky Charms.
It's just a lilt, dude. What are you talking about?
It's Mordigian.
I just kind of do like Sherlock, Watson from the new Sherlock. I try to do him.
You
I don't
sounded
want to
like
go Gandalf.
Male Luna or something.
Yeah, exactly. That is my Luna voice. But Cyphus, where can people find you, my friend?
At @P_Cyphus.
There you go, and that is on Twitter, of course. Nowhere else recognizes him as a legal body, so
Yeah.
find him on Twitter. And for me, your host, you can find me at @P_Wazoo. Please join in on the conversation tomorrow. Join in on the Discord. You can get a link from any one of us. Join in on the community. Check out our in-houses Wednesday nights. Grouty is doing that, and you can reach him at Grouty Dota. And as for that, I think that's all we have for you guys. Thank you for joining in on Tryhard Tuesdays, and I hope you guys join us next week. Remember, stay hard, stay classy.